She lifted the curtain, carefully, so as not to be seen from the street. In the other room, she had no curtains, only a reasonably dirty window pane. That was easier, but she preferred her comfortable armchair in this room. She wondered what distance she ought to keep from the window pane. She would never stick her face so close to the window in the evening with the lights on. But now, in full daylight, with that grey weather... There he was. He had been hidden behind those bushes, but now he was busy with something in his front garden. That hypocritically tended front garden. Everybody knew what a dirty old man he was. He couldn't fool her. Not her. She knew what he was. She lifted her left arm to scratch herself behind her left ear, a gesture which had become more and more habitual for her. However, she wasn't aware of this habit. Otherwise, she would have realised that it usually occurred when she was nervous. Perhaps she wouldn't admit to herself that she was nervous, even in the slightest degree. How awkward! Her hand caught the thin fabric of the curtain and gave it a twitch that could be visible from the street. Luckily, there wasn't a soul in the street. That was only the sharp edge of her thumbnail. So sharp because she had been biting it. A bad habit, she knew, but one that gave her great comfort. Should she go out and face him? After all, they were only neighbours, and this was a free country. Every time she met him face to face, it was the same thing. Great expectations before and nothing but disappointment after the physical confrontation. She knew he was a man with a dirty mind, the way she knew he would look at her, but then it always turned out a complete anticlimax. The way he greeted her, calling her Miss Fee, in his high-pitched voice and giving her his false smile as if butter couldn't melt in his mouth. John was the man who occupied her mind more than any other neighbour. That wasn't because of any positive quality of his, but rather because she was a little afraid of him. She never knew why she should be afraid of such a quiet old man, but deep down in herself she had this strange feeling whenever he was looking at her. What boring man was called John? Simply John. She considered John the most unimaginative name for a man. There were so many other names, more colourful names, names that reminded you of music and spurred your mind towards wonderful fantasies, but not John. She preferred Alfred. There was an Alfred in the village. It was a pity he lived further down the street behind those poplars. She could only see the edge of his grey roof from her window, and she could never see him as often as she saw John. People in the village called him Mr. Winslow, but she knew his first name was Alfred. He was much better looking than John, even though he was probably older than John, who was always called John by everyone, never Mr. Fletcher. On the rare occasions when she saw Alfred walk down the street, she often wondered what his life must have been like before he came to the village and settled behind that row of poplars. She heard people say he was very educated and he had lived in exotic places. He was a tall man with a lean figure and beautifully combed wavy white hair. It was the sort of hair you could sometimes see on elderly film stars.